Today I'm breaking down why I decided to retire abroad and how I went from being a kid who loved summer adventures to a boring adult who did everything he was supposed to do. And finally, what changed me back again into that kid finally living my dream of adventure, freedom, and endless summers across Southeast Asia. This is Away with Joe. I'm Joe, and you're watching Away with Joe, the channel about retiring abroad, exploring Southeast Asia, and making every day feel like an adventure. If you've ever thought about moving overseas or just want to see what life looks like beyond the 9-to-5 grind, you're in the right place. Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, I'm talking about why I decided to retire abroad and what made Southeast Asia stand out from everywhere else on my list. Retiring early and retiring abroad are two separate decisions that together have given me the retirement of my dreams. Today we're going to focus on the second of those two decisions, how I decided to retire abroad. Before we jump in, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes about expat life, travel, and living well on a budget. There was a time when adventure came easy, when summer break meant salt water, campfires, and the smell of sunscreen. As a kid, those few months of freedom felt endless. Every day had potential for discovery, magic, and wonder. But as an adult, that feeling faded under schedules, deadlines, and fluorescent lights. Somewhere along the line, the adventures ended. My dreams of living life as a pirate faded, and I did everything I was supposed to do. Got the job, paid the bills, checked all the boxes. From the outside, it looked like I was doing great, but inside, it felt like I was just going through the motions. I wasn't miserable, but I wasn't alive either. I still loved to travel, still daydreamed of life as a pirate, but only for 1 or 2 weeks a year, as the urgent matters of one corporation or another demanded my attention for 60+ hours a week for more decades than I care to admit. Then one night, I stumbled on a travel article about the Philippines. It wasn't anything flashy, just photos of islands I couldn't pronounce, and stories about people who spent their mornings diving and their afternoons watching the sunset from a beach cafe. But something about it hit me hard. That article woke something in me. That same kid who used to stare out classroom windows in early June was suddenly wide awake again, daydreaming about tropical islands, wooden ships, and ocean breezes. It made me realize I didn't want my best adventures behind me. I wanted a life that felt like summer again. Let's take a quick smoke break to mention our channel's main sponsor, McCoy's Smokehouse and Saloon in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you've ever had their pulled pork or fried squash, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Add in their homemade mac and cheese and award-winning smoked wings, and you'll understand why McCoy's has become a Southern legend. If you're ever in Charlotte, stop by and tell them you heard about them on Away with Joe. Now, back to the story. So after reading that article, I did what everyone does. Nothing. I kept putting off vacation planning and told myself that I didn't have the time to take off right now. I told myself I would go someday, but for some reason that article kept popping up in my head at night as I drifted off to sleep, even during important corporate strategy meetings as I drifted off to sleep. Anyway, the persistence of this particular article and my internalized vision of it eventually led me to take a month off to see the Philippines for myself. And it did not take long before I knew this was a place I could explore for the rest of my life. You can rent a modern apartment with a breathtaking ocean view for around $700 a month, enjoy nice restaurant meals for $5 or $6, and hop between islands for less than the cost of a tank of gas back in the real world. But what really blew me away once I started exploring was how different each island in the Philippines feels. Cebu is the perfect hub for adventure, big enough to have city comforts, yet close to world-class diving, waterfalls, and mountain trails. Just a short flight away, Siargao is a surfer's dream, where mornings start with perfect waves and end with island-hopping lagoons that look like they were designed by an overachieving travel photographer. Then there's Siquijor, the island of fire. It's smaller, quieter, and known for its mystical reputation. Think waterfalls hidden in the jungle, old Spanish churches, and healing traditions that make it feel like you've stepped back into folklore. Dumaguete has a laid-back university vibe, a real sense of expat community, and some of the best diving just offshore on Apo Island. Head west and you'll find Puerto Princesa, gateway to the world-famous underground river and home to lush mangroves and ecotourism. A bit further north, El Nido and Coron offer picture-perfect lagoons, limestone cliffs, and dive sites filled with marine life and shipwrecks that make it feel like a true expedition. And for something special, Malapascua, a tiny island off northern Cebu, is one of the few places on Earth that you can dive with thresher sharks year-round. Every island has its own rhythm. Some move fast, some slow. Some challenge you to climb, dive, or explore, while others invite you to sit quietly and remember what peace feels like. That variety is what makes the Philippines so endlessly fascinating. You're never done discovering it. The combination of adventure and affordability was just too good to ignore. Here's the thing. Adventure in Southeast Asia isn't a once-a-year vacation. It's your everyday backdrop. You can dive with those thresher sharks in Malapascua for under $100, including gear and guide. That same experience in the Caribbean or Florida Keys, easily $350 to $500. Canyoneering in Kawasan, sliding down waterfalls and leaping into blue pools costs around $40, including lunch and transportation. Try that in Hawaii and you're looking easily at $250. Or you could hike rainforests in Malaysia or Indonesia with a photographer guide for around $80 a day. A similar experience in Costa Rica would easily run $250. In Thailand, you can tour ancient cities and temples, literally some of the most beautiful places on Earth, for the cost of a couple of cups of coffee. And then there's the scuba diving in the islands. World War II wreck diving in Coron, watching sea turtles play in Bohol, or island hopping the reefs in the Surins. All bucket list stuff that costs a fraction of Caribbean or US equivalents. Chai and I recently chartered a private dive boat in Bohol for a full day of island hopping, with breakfast, lunch, drinks, and guided dives with sea turtles in gin clear surf for $50. Something similar in the Bahamas could easily run 10 times that. It's not just the price, it's the access. Here, these adventures are part of daily life. You're not saving up for them, you're living them because they're right next door. Speaking of getting ready for adventure, today's episode is sponsored by Cal's Camp Chairs and Cosmetic Surgery Center, the only place where you can upgrade your comfort and your confidence in the same visit. Cal understands that after a long day of travel, sometimes you need two things: a solid chair that won't collapse under life's bad decisions, and a little cosmetic tune-up to keep your passport photo slaying. So whether you're settling in by the campfire or settling into a slightly improved version of yourself, Cal's has you covered, from seating to symmetry. Okay, back to the show. Now let's talk about something a lot of people get wrong about retiring here in Southeast Asia. They think you're giving up modern comforts. That couldn't be further from the truth. Southeast Asia has world-class conveniences that rival and sometimes surpass what you'll find in the US or Europe. Shopping malls in cities like Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Cebu, and Manila are massive, spotless, and filled with everything from luxury brands to budget finds. all air conditioned and packed with deals. You can grab sushi, see a movie, and do your grocery run without leaving the building. And speaking of groceries, yeah, imported goods like cheese or wine are more expensive, but local produce, fresh seafood, and staples are 50 to 70% cheaper than back home. My typical grocery trips that used to cost $100 back in the US now cost $30 here. Then there's the coffee culture. Independent high-end cafes with latte art, great Wi-Fi, and peaceful vibes are everywhere. $1.50 for cappuccino compared to $5 to $7 at Starbucks back home. Healthcare, excellent and affordable. A full doctor's visit might cost $15 to $25, and high-end hospitals in Bangkok or Manila are internationally accredited. Compare that to the US, where you can pay $250 just to walk through the door. Need to travel? Budget airlines like AirAsia and Cebu Pacific make it easy to hop between countries for $50 to $100 round trip, while a similar flight in the US or Europe could easily top $500. Pharmacies are everywhere, well-stocked, clean, and often without the need for a prescription for basic meds. So no, retiring abroad doesn't mean roughing it. It means living comfortably, maybe even more comfortably, without draining your savings. Stumbling across that magazine article about traveling the Philippines did more than just open my eyes to the possibility of retiring overseas. It reignited my childhood passions. Because retiring abroad isn't about running away from something. It's about running toward something better. More adventure, less stress. A lifestyle where you actually have time to live. And if you're incredibly lucky, one that scratches that childhood itch to be wild. Mark Twain said it best. Now and then, we had a hope that if we lived and we were good, God would permit us to be pirates. So if you've been thinking about it, maybe it's time to start planning your next chapter too. A final shout out to our sponsors, McCoy Smokehouse and Saloon in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Cal's Camp Chairs and Cosmetic Surgery Center. Sit pretty, look prettier. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe. Leave us a like and drop a comment below. Where in the world would you consider retiring and why? See you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed the video you just watched, check this one out because I think you'll love it too.